Meeting for July 1st will come to order, please. Roll call.
Commissioner Abraham,
Here.
Commissioner Galt,
Present.
Commissioner Rhodes, Commissioner Wilson,
Present.
Mayor Taylor.
Present. Tonight I've asked Lance to come up and do our invocation for us. He's graciously agreed to do that. That's what you get for being a reporter here, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I certainly appreciate you stepping up and doing that for us.
Oh, no problem at all.
And then our Pledge of Allegiance will be Meg Hancock. She's a Paducah Tillman High School sophomore.
Okay, bow your heads. Lord, please help our elected officials here in their best efforts and to serve the community and give them the knowledge and understanding of the community to make good decisions. Also, look after all those folks in the city, in the community, and in the state that are in need. There are several struggles going on with job losses, and fortunately we have a few jobs coming to town, so hopefully that will help. So look after all those folks that are in need of work, in need of a house, in need of anything, and help our community leaders assist all those as well. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen. Meg, you come on up. And Meg also has a patriotic poem for us tonight, since it's the eve of the 4th of July.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The poem I've chosen for this evening is The New Colossus by Emma Lazarus, which was published in 1883. It's the poem that is written on the Statue of Liberty, and it's all about welcoming new people into the United States and the American dream and things that we celebrate on the 4th of July. Not like the brazen giant of Greek fame, with conquering limbs astride from land to land. Here at our sea-washed sunset gates shall stand a mighty woman with a torch, whose flame is the imprisoned lightning, and her name Mother of Exiles. From her beacon hand glows worldwide welcome. Her mild eyes command the air-bridged harbor that twin cities frame. Keep, ancient lands, your storied pomp, cries she with silent lips. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, the tempest-tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door.
Thank you, Meg. All right, are there any additions or deletions, City Manager?
There are none.
Okay, we'll go on to our ordinances adoption. Commissioner Abraham, please.
I move that the Board of Commissioners adopt an ordinance entitled, An Ordinance of the City of Paducah, Kentucky, authorizing the issuance of the City of Paducah, Kentucky taxable general obligation refunding bond series 4014B, police and firefighter pension plan, in the aggregate principal amount of $4,230,000, subject to be permitted adjustments increasing or decreasing the size of said bonds by up to $425,000 for the purpose of refunding in advance of maturity a portion of the outstanding City of Paducah, Kentucky taxable general obligation bond, police and firefighter pension plan, Series 2005, authorizing and approving the aggregate of the financial advisor and bond counseling in connection with the issuance and sale of the bonds, approving the form of the bonds, authorizing designated officers to execute and deliver the bonds, authorizing and directing filings with the state local debt officer and Department for Local Government, providing for the payment and security of the bonds, creating a bond payment fund, maintaining the heretofore established sinking fund, authorizing acceptance of the bid of the bond purchaser for the purchase of the bonds, and repealing inconsistent ordinances. This ordinance is summarized as follows. This ordinance authorizes the issuance of general obligation refunding bonds designated as Series 2014B in the approximate principal amount of $4,230,000, the bonds by the City of Paducah, Kentucky, the city. The bonds are to be used for the purpose of refunding in advance of maturity a portion of the outstanding City of Paducah, Kentucky taxable general obligation bonds, police and firefighter pension plan, Series 2005. The prior bonds, the proceeds of which were used to fund unfunded liabilities in the city's police and fire pension fund, the pension fund. Provisions are made in the ordinance for the payment of the bonds and the security therefore, for the application of the proceeds for the bonds, for the establishment of the bond payment fund, for the maintenance of the previous established sinking fund, and for certain convenience of the city with respect to the bonds. The bonds are to be sold at public competitive sale and shall mature or be subject to mandatory sinking fund redemption in varying amounts on November 1st of each of the years 2014 through 2025. The bonds pledge the full faith and credit of the city, and provision is made for the collection of a tax to pay the principal of an interest on bonds subject to certain credits, as provided in Section 8 of the ordinance and required by KRS 83A.060. The following Section 7 of the ordinance is set forth in this entry. The bond shall be full general obligation of the city and for the payment of said bonds and the interest thereon. The full faith, credit, and revenue of the city are hereby pledged for the prompt payment thereof. During the period of bonds are outstanding, there shall be, and there hereby is levied on all taxable property in the city, in addition to all other taxes without limitation as to rate, a direct tax annually in an amount significant to pay the principal and interest on the bonds when and as due. It being hereby found and determined that current tax rates are within all acceptable limitations, said tax shall be and is hereby ordered, computed, certified, levied, and extended upon the tax duplicate and collected by the same officers in the same manner and at the same time that tax for general purpose for each of said years are certified, extended, and collected. Said tax shall be placed before and in preference to all other items and for the full amount thereof provided. However, that in each year, to the extent that the other is lawfully available funds of the city and are available for the payment of the bonds, including amounts available under the lease, and are appropriated for such purpose. The amount of such direct tax upon all the taxable properties in the city shall be reduced by the amount of such other funds so available and appropriated.
Second.
Thank you. And all of that means that we're saving $200,000 in interest over the life of the bond.
That's great.
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And also that we will be responsible for making additional contributions to eliminate any unfunded liability, but not for COLAs when the fund is not actuarially sound. So that's good management. Thank you. And City Manager and John.
I would just comment that we do have under consideration a recommendation to the Commission for a COLA in the pension fund. It has been a number of years since that has occurred, so we'd expect something would be brought forward in the next meeting or two.
Okay. Roll call.
Commissioner Abraham?
Aye.
Commissioner Galt?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Taylor?
Aye. Commissioner Galt, please.
I move that the Board of Commissioners adopt an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance Accepting Matching Grant Funds Through the Kentucky Division of Waste Management for 2014-2015 Household Hazardous Waste Grant for funding the annual City-County Cleanup Day and authorizing the mayor to execute a grant agreement and interlocal agreement with McCracken County and all documents relating thereto." This ordinance is summarized as follows. The City of Paducah hereby accepts matching grant funds in the amount of $26,800 through the Kentucky Division of Waste Management for 2014-2015 Household Hazardous Waste Grant to fund disposal services and an educational outreach program for the 2015 annual City-County Cleanup Day, and authorizes the mayor to execute a grant agreement and interlocal agreement with McCracken County and all documents relating thereto. A local match of $14,637.50 is required from the city and county, contributing $7,318.75 each through cash and/or in-kind contributions.
Second.
Okay. Good deal. We do that every year, so. Roll call.
Commissioner Abraham?
Aye.
Commissioner Galt?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Taylor?
Aye. And I just want to say that Lindsay Parrish is filling in for our city clerk tonight. She does a great job here at City Hall. Always a bright, happy face and really good on the phone. And you take care of me very well. Thank you.
She's been with us right about a year, right? All right.
Great addition to City Hall. Okay, Commissioner Wilson, please.
I move that the Board of Commissioners adopt an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance Authorizing the Mayor to Execute an Engineering Service Agreement in an Amount Not to Exceed $52,000 for professional engineering design services related to updating the utility and roadway plans for the Olivet Church Road Improvement Project." This ordinance is summarized as follows: that the Mayor of the City of Paducah is hereby authorized to execute an engineering service agreement with Shawnee Professional Services in an amount not to exceed $52,000 for updating of the utility and roadway plans for the Olivet Church Road Improvement Project.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, we've discussed all these last week, so any discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Commissioner Abraham?
Aye.
Commissioner Galt?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Taylor?
Aye. Commissioner Abraham, please.
I move that the Board of Commissioners adopt an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance Accepting the Bid of Nichols Electric Company, LLC for the purchase of new emergency generator to be installed at Fire Station Number 1 and authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement for same." This ordinance is summarized as follows: that the City of Paducah accepts the bid of Nichols Electric Company, LLC in the amount of $83,900 for the purchase of a new emergency generator to be installed at Fire Station Number 1 and authorizes the mayor to execute an agreement for same.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Abraham?
Aye.
Commissioner Galt?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Taylor?
Aye. Commissioner Galt, please.
I move that the Board of Commissioners adopt an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance of the City of Paducah, Kentucky approving a lease agreement among the City of Paducah, McCracken County, and Genova Products, Inc. with respect to a public project, authorizing the execution of the lease agreement and other documents related thereto." This ordinance is summarized as follows. In this ordinance, the City of Paducah approves the leasing of property located at 5400 Commerce Drive, Paducah, Kentucky to Genova Productions, Inc., pursuant to a lease agreement dated June 30th, 2014, by and between County of McCracken, City of Paducah, and Genova Productions, Inc. This ordinance further authorizes the mayor of the City of Paducah, Kentucky to execute and deliver all documents necessary to consummate the transaction.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Abraham,
Aye.
Commissioner Galt,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Mayor Kayler.
Aye. We have one ordinance tonight for introduction. Commissioner Wilson, please.
I move that the Board of Commissioners introduce an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance Authorizing the Mayor to Execute a Reimbursement Agreement with Paducah Water for the water construction related to the Olivet Church Road Roadway Improvement Project, and authorizes the Finance Director to transfer funds from the General Fund Reserve, unappropriated and undesignated account." This ordinance is summarized as follows: that the City of Paducah hereby authorizes the mayor to execute a reimbursement agreement between Paducah Water and the City of Paducah, Kentucky for reimbursement for actual labor and materials necessary for water construction to complete the Olivet Church Road roadway improvement project at the estimated cost of $460,000. In the event the total invoice amount exceeds the estimated amount required to complete said project, the city hereby authorizes the finance director to issue payment for the actual total cost to Paducah Water. Additionally, the finance director is authorized to transfer funds in an amount not to exceed $127,000 from the general fund reserve, unappropriated undesignated account to the Olivet Church roadway project account.
Second.
Mayor, Commission, this is your final utility reimbursement contract for this project. A couple of them, Paducah Power is just now finishing its portion up, and JSA is actively in their relocation, and we're anticipating that we're going to finish those well under those estimated amounts. That could help us here in this area here, that we would not have to go to the reserve, but we'll know that at the end of these projects.
Will that money then be reimbursed, included in the total project of the cost of it, that we will be getting some back from the state? Or
We're in excess of the $2 million for right-of-way and utility relocation for that. We were delayed. The mayor, the city manager, and myself actually went to Frankfurt to talk to them about that. They did help us on the backside of the construction portion. However, on the front side with the utility, they were asking us to get to the end of that and see where we were, and hopefully we'll be able to finish near the $2 million. But actually, our work with the utility companies, we've brought them down quite a bit.
Yeah, they've really worked with us.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
So, when are we moving dirt?
As far as the roadway portion, I'm hoping fall.
Okay.
I don't like to give months. I'll give seasons.
And I know we have to avoid the mall area in the winter.
We have, our agreement with the mall is that we will not be actively working between the dates of November 1st to January 15th.
Well, both the roadways coincide as far as starting work on them, or?
The sequence of the construction is generally dictated by the contractor based on how fast and he can get work done, but we also have to maintain the traffic on Olivet Church Road as the work goes on, so we look at those things as well.
Okay. All right. Any questions for Rick?
Thank you.
City managers report?
I have two items to report. Unfortunately, the first one is Belgium 3, USA 2. But I'd like to take a little bit of time to ask Steve Doolittle to come forward and give us all an update on recent very significant activities associated with the hotel development.
Thank you, Jeff. We were here about a week ago, and you introduced an ordinance to authorize industrial revenue bonds. That was on Tuesday. On Thursday, at a meeting in Frankfurt before the Kentucky Tourism Development Act Authority Board, they granted the project $4.5 million in tax credits for the job. That was the statutory max. that the project received. We felt all along going in that in order for the project to be feasible, it needed about $3.5 million or 20% of the capital, but they did receive the full 25%. It was gratifying to be in Frankfurt before a citizen board, and they knew Paducah well. They certainly knew the impact of quilting and the quilt show, not on just Paducah, but the entire state. And Mayor, you'll be pleased to know they had an entire side conversation about the UNESCO designation
Right.
and the importance of that, not only to Paducah, but again to the state of Kentucky. And they speculated that will grow and could become as important as fiber arts is to Paducah in and of itself. So that all went very good. The state, in its way, how it does the tax credits, it doesn't take an application and decide what to do. It turned it around and it hired a financial analyst from Chicago who came and examined the project. And as part of the report, they reported some things to the state that they expect this project will do. And new spending, $116 million. This is over 10 years, and this will occur in Kentucky. Net new earnings, $36 million. Net new full-time jobs. Directly, that's as a direct result from the hotel, 116, and indirect and induced means the impact that spreads through the community. There'll be a total of, between the direct and the indirect, a total of 201. Ultimately, in the first 10 years, $9.6 million in taxes will be collected. The construction impact, and this is straight from the job, $11.5 million in construction, and labor as a result of the construction of $10 million. So it was not the spending that's created that was just part of the reason they gave the credit that they did, but our ability to attract business from out of state. Key to the state's decision is that we're just not cannibalizing hotels in Paducah. We'd just be trading money around, but their sincere belief that we will be able to drive traffic out of town, and that's because of the convention center. In fact, the feasibility analyst said the hotel will create more demand than it can consume. So that's where it'll spread to other businesses in town, other hotels in town, and will spill over. When they come, they have to eat and they have to fill up their cars with gas. So all that spending will go through the community. That was on Thursday. The developers have already signed that agreement with the state, so that's done. And then yesterday in Frankfurt at the Department of Local Government, there was a hearing before in the Office of the State Local Debt Officer on the industrial development bonds. That is an application for $10.5 million, not to be confused with the general obligation bond reading that we had. The city is not responsible for the repayment of the industrial development revenue bond. That comes from revenues generated by the project only, and they are not sold publicly. They're sold privately, and there will only be one buyer, and we know that will be Independence Bank. So that final decision will be rendered in 15 days, and then there's a 30-day waiting period, and that part will be put to bed. There's a certain speed that is starting to pick up. We are beginning to see the first hints of the concept drawings for the hotel. They're starting to dribble out in draft form as they're examining how they think the physical structure will work.
It's good news, really good news, and I think the hotel will be beautiful, just from what little things I've seen.
I think it will too. They are I know you all saw the hotel in Owensboro. They are stating with certainty that they think from a design and quality standpoint, they'll be able to exceed what was done in Owensboro. And that's a pretty nice hotel downtown.
It is.
It's nice over there.
There, so it is
Well,
pretty
we,
nice.
of course, had the busload there last Thursday, and we could only get 19 rooms at their downtown hotel, and we booked that several months ahead. We were actually spread out at 3 different hotels in Owensboro. Their restaurant is great. All of the facilities there around it are really very nice, so we hope the same thing. I know the developer, our local developer, showed up and saw all of us there at that hotel.
He hears Paducah people, and he's there.
He does, and so we just kept saying, this is what we want.
Steve, I know we still have a few hurdles to cross.
We do.
Do you have something else?
No, I agree. We do. There's a few things
I know
that
we
need to be
do,
done.
but I know as the commission, we oftentimes put a lot of pressure on department heads, and we have put a lot of pressure on you, and it has been a rough road to hoe at times. But in the same tone, you have done an excellent job.
Well, thank you,
And-
Commissioner. I appreciate
I
it.
agree.
I mean, it has.
Agree.
You have
Thank you.
been over backwards, and you have done a lot of hand holding. And at the same time, you deserve a big pat on the back.
Well, thank you.
So, congratulations on a job well done.
Well, we'll save all that for when we actually see a track hoe working.
I know, but I still think you deserve a little credit.
We want to put those shovels in the ground.
I agree.
Thank you.
Good job thus far.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, I went this afternoon to Barkley Regional Airport. They had a reception for Richard Roof, who has been the manager at Barkley Regional Airport for the last 40 years. And prior to that, he worked 5 years at Ohio Valley Aviation. And Richard was there when I took flying lessons at Ohio Valley Aviation. I soloed a few times, but I never got my license. But it was fun. And I found out also that Richard had been there prior to those 5 years at Ohio Valley Aviation. He used to ride his bike out to the airport and started taking flying lessons himself at the age of 13. So, he's a man with such a knowledge of the intricacies of that airport. And not only that, but probably every other airport in the United States and maybe even in foreign countries. So it was nice to recognize him. And another little tidbit is Mayor Paxton and Lucy are the proud grandparents of twin babies, a boy and a girl. Everybody's doing fine. I don't know their names. And Pam, so that makes three children. And then their son has a little one, so they're busy right now. And Pam, would you come up and just give a little brief on the 4th of July activities for this weekend, since Mark isn't here? Everybody looks forward to the 4th of July in Paducah.
Yes, they do, and another great show for us this year. It's going to start at 5:30 with the vendors ready to sell at the riverfront. There's going to be, I think, 7 vendors, food and non-food. So there's going to be, you can get barbecue, you can have hot dogs, those kind of food there. And then at 6:30 is the first live performance. It's going to be a trio that's out of Cape Girardeau. They do a lot of classical music. Then there's going to be the concert band as well as the jazz band. So the music's going to continue until the national anthem, and then the fireworks show at 9:15. And the fireworks show is they are launched from a barge out in the Ohio River, and it's usually about a good 20-minute show. So we invite everybody to the riverfront. The riverfront is the entrances to the flood wall are going to start to close at about 10 o'clock on Friday, right around the Broadway in the Kentucky area. Boaters can still come in and out until 4, and then the rest of the flood wall openings will close at 4 to just pedestrian traffic so that everybody can get down, find a place to sit, and enjoy the evening.
Just remind everybody that has a boat, we have a brand new boat launch they can
That's
have
right.
their boat to. They don't have to
That's
put it
why
at
we
the
put
foot of
it in.
Broadway. There's
That's
a brand
exactly
new
why we put it in, for things like this and bad shows.
And the community concert band is such a treat. I mean, it's really worth the trip to come down and listen to those folks.
Especially all the patriotic music that night. It's just an uplifting evening.
And I'm sorry to say I won't be here Friday night for the festivities. I'm driving to Richmond to see my granddaughter.
It'll be fun.
But I know it'll be fun.
Mhm.
Any comments, commissioners? Okay, we do have a public comment tonight, and Lois, thank you for being patient and waiting while we got through here. So would you come on up, please? Lois Hester is here tonight to speak on flooding on Madison Street.
Yes, my name is Lois Hester. I live at 2127 Madison Street, and I'm 73 years old. And on June the 2nd, I guess that was when it was, when we had that big shower, there was sewer water from the street to the alley about 3 feet deep. And the stench was awful. And it got under our houses, it got in our outbuildings, and it got in our cars. And I'll tell you, it is very hard to get that out of anything. And the cost of having all of that cleaned up is not cheap. I called the refuge department after I had my mess cleaned up under the house and asked them if they would pick up the 10 bags that I had there with the insulation and plastic in it. And they told me it would cost $25. And I told her I would not pay it because it was not my fault that I had those 10 bags. And so they're still sitting there. And the same thing happened in 2013. And I have called, well, in fact, I think I talked to Mr. Abraham about this alley behind us a couple of years ago. It will not drain, and my backyard is nothing but a flood most of the time when we get a heavy rain. And so now the only thing I know is I'm going to sell my home and move to the county because you all will not do anything about this flooding we're having. But the water was over the fire hydrants, and it was bubbling up out of the sewers. And it was terrible. And I would just like to know why are the sewers not cleaned out? And were the pumps not turned on? We did call and ask about the pumps, and they said they didn't turn them on unless the river was low.
Hi, yeah.
I mean, yeah. And so I don't guess it mattered that we were getting flooded. You know, and the alley is just terrible. People leave their leaves in them year-round, never clean them out, and the weeds are high as I am. And I'm just wondering if there's anything that can be done about this. I mean, whoever thought I'd live in Paducah city limits on 21 Madison Street and you'd get flooded? I just don't understand why something cannot be done about it.
Well, I do know that JSA is mandated by the federal government to separate all the combined sewers. This is, they've started work in Wallace Park area. They do think that once that project's completed, it will alleviate some of the conditions farther down, lower than the Wallace Park area. It won't take care of all of that. It's a long process, and it's millions of dollars that it's going to cost because we're obligated, and Commissioner Galt's on the JSA board, to separate all those combined sewers. Another problem we have here in Paducah is that we're so low, and I know Clay Street between Joe Clifton and 32nd Street floods badly every time we have a flash flood because you just can't carry that much water away quickly. And it is unfortunate that those incidents occur, and I certainly do empathize with you on the problems. But I don't know that it's something that we can totally correct. I do think some of the work we're doing will help alleviate some of that. It is important that all property owners make sure that they keep their leaves picked up, as you said.
But they don't.
Because if they don't, then those
They're full
wash
of leaves
into the
and
sewer
trash in
inlets
that
and the
alley
water can't get
continuous.
out. I know.
You know, I just, I don't know. I'm just really disappointed in this government right now. And, I mean, I pay my taxes and I try to keep my place up and to look nice. And then about the time you get it to where, okay, that's not bad, well, then we have another flood. And I'm too old to have to do that anymore.
And you're not the only one. I mean, I've
And
had calls
with the
from
flooding,
other people.
I won't get anything from my home, where it's at. So, but this, I've been there for 17 years, and this did not happen until the last 2 years. And I don't know if you all do clean the sewers out at all. I've never seen it done.
I know that Public Works does go around and try to keep the leaves out of the inlets as much as possible, but they can't cover the whole area. We really need property owners to help us with that.
Well, I don't have any. It's all on the other side of the, street. And, in the alley, I mean, all I've got is just a little indention. There is no ditch there with a drain or anything. And
So your backyard sits lower
yes,
than the
in the
alley.
alley. And it just needs something done.
You didn't have that problem until last year?
Right.
You must have had ponding in your backyard
Yeah.
off and on.
Well, yeah, I mean, the backyard.
Yeah, that-
I mean, we'd have a little standing, but, nothing like what we're getting now.
Did you call Joint Sewer Agency? I mean, did you talk to them as well?
I haven't.
That was going to be my question, actually,
Okay.
if you had spoken to
I think
any.
everybody recognizes at some point that it's just not possible to build capacity to meet the
The flash flooding.
impact of an event like that. It was huge. I don't know how often something like that occurs, but
Well, this has happened the last 2 years, I know.
yeah.
I think
And,
this year's flooding was some of the worst that we've had.
yes, it was, and it didn't
Fortunately, it was
but
not
about
Most rain.
Yeah,
a
fortunately, it
couple
was
of
not for long.
inches, and it
was
would have been in my
flashing
home,
type.
inside.
Yeah.
And I'm just too old to have to worry about stuff like that. And I thought, well, all I knew to do was come down here and see if you could do anything about it.
Well, is it something that you could at least contact Joint Sewer Agency to talk to them about it?
We'll certainly,
Alert them?
make
We'll
them aware of the
certainly look into
location.
it. Absolutely.
Typically, there are a lot of factors at play on something like this. The elevation of the yard being one of them, amount of rain, the capacity of the sewers. I assume that's combined.
But I really
somewhere in
think
that
if
area
they
if
would
that's
just
happening.
clean out the sewers, even twice a year, that would help immensely.
I don't.
Well,
I
those,
think it's
I
the inlets
don't
that
think it's
not
probably a
the
matter of
sewer.
the sewers being plugged. It's
It's
just
the inlets.
capacity was exceeded by those events.
Well, it sounds like there's a combination of things.
Yeah.
The one that you mentioned, the alley behind the house,
No,
and there's no ditch there.
right.
It just kind of
Yeah, like
goes.
that.
So no, I don't think
There's
that.
a ditch then. My house and the next house just has an indention.
Mhm.
And then the rest of it has got a ditch dug. But it's so full of stuff that there's nowhere for the water to go.
Yeah, well, if what I'm hearing you say, if the alley's here,
Right, and my yard is down.
right? So I'm thinking there may be, I don't know, as far as the alley, how we maintain the alleys. I don't know if that has something to do. It's not, obviously it has nothing to do with the amount of water that's coming in wherever the pumps starts pumping and pump it out. But
We don't have any pumps that pump it
No,
up.
don't the pumps are directly related to the river.
River.
level.
right,
They're
well,
not
this
related
is
to water.
right. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the alley, and how we maintain our alleys. Is that having any effect on
Your alley grade typically is higher than your yard elevations, and so I can't imagine unless we're talking runoff from the alley surface itself, which I don't think would be the case. So I don't think we're maintaining a drainage ditch back there, are we, Rick, or anything like that? Public?
At the end of it, there is a drain,
We certainly check that and make sure.
and there is, but the weeds and the grass and the trash,
Yeah.
you can't even see it, so there's no way for it to drain.
Rick would know if we have a,
Excuse me.
Mayor, Commission, our alleys are some of the hardest things there are in town to maintain. The reason for that, and if you drive any of the alleys in town, you'll see that there's a whole lot of rear drive access to the houses, or maybe there's somebody that has a garage there. And then when you have the little gentle swale that's adjacent to the alley, well, then when they're trying to get from the alley to their backyard or their alley to their garage, there's a lot of armchair engineering that takes place, and they build a little crossover to get from the alley to the yard. And we have a minimum size pipe of 12 inches for driveway access. Well, when they start getting into the alleys, this starts messing up the drainage. Well, if you've got 20 houses backed up to an alley, 10 on a side, two of them want this connection and the other 8 don't, it messes up the whole alley. So a lot of Paducah has been designed around alleys where that access is there. And then a lot of times, this lady's correct, it just fills up full of stuff, yard debris and waste, where people don't collect it. They just kind of get it out of sight, out of mind. And then when the rains come, we have problems. We have over 100 miles of alleys, and we don't maintain them to the same level we do our streets. So, and then we're blessed with flat ground, and water just will not run off flat ground. So I appreciate what you're saying. I know I've lived here all my life. I understand these things, but it's as the commission and city manager have stated, we have limited ability with funding and with building sewer systems to handle the biggest rain, because if we have that, we have a huge tax base to cover those costs, and we don't have that. So we try to maintain what we do within our means. So,
Rick, I mean, she's been at a tremendous expense and a lot of trauma. Can't we pick those?
as far as the picking up the
her?
waste, I don't have a
mean-
problem with that. But we don't have a problem with that. It's just some of these circumstances we get into. It's just
But
a call center. Sometimes we turn into a call center, and we have situations where we're not necessarily dealing specific with a public need, and we do take care of extenuating circumstances for things that I know about, but I'm not answering the phone all the time. So anyway, we can take care of that. But I mean, as far as the bigger picture, it's not easily solved.
Well, if you would find the people that put all of their junk in the ditches and things, that might stop. And that would be a help. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mayor.
Thank you.
Okay.
Miss Hester? Yes. If you'll wait for just a minute, I would like to get some information from you, because I'm going to give your information to JSA, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let me hold on. I need to address some of this too, because I don't want JSA to get blindsided by this, because this is, ma'am, yeah, you need to hear this too. If this is a combined sewer area, JSA has the main sewer that's carrying both the storm and the sanitary waste coming from the homes. And if it's combined sewer, then every inlet that comes off of that, like the drains and the curbs, those belong to the city. Now, everywhere there's one of those storm inlets, there's a trap that turns down to eliminate the sewer gases from escaping, and Commissioner, as you've experienced in your neighborhood. If those inlets are full of stuff where the water can't get into the trap, then that might be us. It may not be JSA. This is where we collaborate and we work together. So, and we have a joint interest in the storm sewer system and the combined sewer system. Now, You spoke earlier about the combination sewers. The work that's going on in Wallace Park is not in the same network that she's working in, but I mean, there is work that's taking place on that side.
However, there was a very similar incident in the same network, and there were torrential rains.
Sure,
It was a short
sure.
period of time, and I think that JSA may be able to shed some light and
Yeah.
work through some of that. And there may be some information that they can gain from her. So I would like to put you in contact.
Yeah.
So if you'll just hold tight for just a minute. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Rick. Well, you know, I've had calls on Clay Street with the same problem, so I don't know if that's in the network she's on, in that same area, but. Anything else?
No.
Okay, just wish everyone a very, very happy and patriotic July the 4th weekend. And be careful, and there's a wind blowing up outside, so everyone be careful tonight. Meeting's adjourned.